All right. Hello. Welcome back, everybody, to another market open. We are officially in June, which is kind of crazy. It is June. We are 6 months into the new year, 2023. I don't know if it's a new year anymore, but it was 6 months ago. And now it's officially June, which is kind of crazy to think it's literally June. So happy June, everybody. A lot has changed over the past 6 months. Hope everyone's having a great morning. Let me know in the chat what is the craziest thing or most important thing that has happened to you in 2023. And you cannot say Palantir going to $14, even though that's pretty much this thing that has happened to you in 2023, even if it's just by just something that's a little crazy. Obviously, it's been just an absolute crazy year. I looked at the calendar, so I was like, wow, it's actually June. All right. Hello, everybody. Cameron, Investing, Broccoli Bob, Philip, Rizzo, Joseph, James, Afar, Jew Jr., Karan, Raki Undalia. Yo, what is up? Jeff, Mike, Jason, Ibot, Ray, Jeremy, Seth Roth, Nikhil, Edmund Zung, Seco13, Inbound X, Marginal Mystery. That's a dope name. Sonup, London. I got engaged to my longtime girlfriend. That's awesome, bro. Congratulations on that. That is special. Engagements, marriages, that is special. That is so dope. Congrats to you. Skasky Rose, Jem, Morton, Felicia. I got a job to buy more stocks. Well, that makes sense. We got to buy some stonks before we get a 2024 potential bull market. I don't know. We'll see. Everclear, welcome to June, Amit. The month is now, just like the time is now. Denmark, hello. Torben, what's up? London, what's up from Toronto? Toronto, the 6. Still never been to Toronto. I went to Montreal for a little bit, but not the 6. 30K pay raise is the crazy thing that's happened to me. Oh, Broccoli Bob, now I know why you're a channel member. Now I know how you could afford that shit. 30K pay raise, huh? Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, so yes, we are in June 1st, 2023. We've got a lot going on today. So first announcement, Palantir's Aipcon. I will be live streaming it at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. I think it'll be like 4 or 5 hours, and I'll be live streaming the whole thing on this channel. I'll be very excited. We have a lot of clients that are going to be speaking, a lot of stuff that's going to go down, and we're going to get a real look into what AIP is. Sham Sankar will be speaking. Alex Karp will be speaking. So going to be very excited to kind of see what that is and go from there. On top of that, outside of the Palantir news, we have some major news in the United States. The debt ceiling negotiations that were going on for the past 2 weeks, frankly, the past 6 months, the stuff started back in February, is officially passed in the House of Representatives. The Senate needs to pass it, and then Joe Biden signs the deal, and markets have more stability because now we can spend as much as we want, up to $31.4 trillion for the next 2 years, and have no issues. So that is also going to be really important for, in general, interest rates and growth stocks as we go forward for stability in the market. Last piece of news, and then we'll get into the charts. The Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that the Fed is considering to pause rates in June, but start again in July. So basically skip a rate hike in June, but begin it in July. Now, what does that mean? That means that they don't want to raise it now. They don't want to officially pause it forever. They want to have a trial month to see what it would be like to pause, which means if CPI can come in really nice for June and July, meaning we go from 4.9 to maybe like 4.1, 4.2 by the end of July, maybe we don't have a rate hike in July going forward. CPI is going to determine everything, but the fact that the Fed is willing to pause in June and wait a month means that they're not so aggressive, so hawkish to begin raising immediately in June as many have said that they would be. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening. No way. They raised the debt ceiling. Who could have guessed this? Remember, all these politicians have money in the stock market. So obviously they didn't want to see a default on our debt. I literally don't even know what would happen if we defaulted on our debt. I think our credibility would go down. I think the United States hegemonic sort of prowess would go down a little bit. I don't know what the practical implications would be if we defaulted on our debt. Obviously, it wouldn't be the best. But in general, that's probably something we don't want to do, because markets would not like that at all. All right, we've got about 50 seconds until the market opens. SoFi is down about 3.3% pre-market. It ran up to 694 yesterday, up 15% now at 672. We've got Palantir. Where is Palantir at pre-market? Founders at 1452, so it's down 0.99%. Still holding 14 strong. Tesla down 0.7%. Target, this guy is just getting destroyed a little bit. Meta is up a little bit. So the market's going to open in about 10 seconds, and we're going to see where a lot of these stocks tend to go, if NVIDIA is going to continue to crash, and how we see the market continue to move forward. I'll talk about Wejo in a second after we open up the market. All right, 9:30 a.m., June 1st, 2023. Thank you, 300 people, for being here. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Hopefully the bell woke you up if you are not up. By the way, let me know in the chat if you drink coffee every morning to wake up, if you're a natural person that doesn't need coffee. 1443 on Palantir, down 1.94%. Still holding 14 strong, even though NVIDIA... Oh, NVIDIA's up. NVIDIA was down from 419 to 383 yesterday, so it had about a 5-6% decline, but it's up today at 1.4%. So not too bad on NVIDIA. And again, my thesis here, and this is like the sort of qualitative hypothetical thesis I've come up with as I'm analyzing these AI companies, is that if NVIDIA maintains its price momentum, then I think Palantir is going to maintain its price momentum outside of anything that happens to Palantir. But from a macro AI-driven rally, I think if NVIDIA stays, then Palantir and some of these other companies can stay. C3 AI, this was a company that reported earnings yesterday. Wow, they were down 19%. Obviously, they were down a lot after hours yesterday because their earnings were not the best. Market didn't like some of the guidance. This is a stock that was up 260% in the month. Now down 19%. Weight Watchers up 1.3% at 37%. SLG Green down 0.65%. Intel up a little bit. Tesla up to 204. SoFi 674, so down to 2.88%, but still not doing too bad. Target at 128. Super Microcomputers 228. Enovix 1314. Meta 267. This is a new 52-week high for Meta. Enphase 174. Look at that, just fighting back from the 159 range. It was that when it was 159, people were waiting for 130. 130 did not come, and now if it stays at 174, inks its way back to 180. Enphase is going to do pretty well from the dip. S&P 417, PayPal 62, NASDAQ 12,928, so just under 13,000. Unity Software 29, Apple 177. Worldwide Developers Conference on June 5th. We are going to see what Apple has in store, and I think the stock is up just a little bit from the 173 range a week ago because investors are excited about this VR headset. I personally don't think VR is going to be that amazing. I don't think it's going to be the next iPhone, but will they sell a crap ton of them? Yeah. And could it reflect in their earnings? Yeah. It's at a 30 PE right now, and it's guiding for relatively flat growth over the next 2 months, next 2 years. So you could argue the valuation's a little stretched, but maybe the growth comes from the headset. Bitcoin 26,000. Western Alliance 34. Look at Truist, awesome, 31.31, up 2.53%. This is our super regional bank. PacWest up as well. So the regionals are up. And then we've got some red in ARC Innovation down just a little bit. And we got some red in the Qs, 347, just a little bit, 0.08% down. Wejo is up at 24%. So Wejo is not going bankrupt. Wejo is going to be delisted from the stock exchange, but it is still going to be operating as a private company. And eventually, if they raise enough capital, they'll be back on the stock exchange. So Wejo is not going bankrupt. The exposure to Palantir is minimal, so it's not going to be a big deal for Palantir whether they get delisted or not. But overall, Wejo is not stopping as a company. They're just getting delisted from the stock exchange. Do you think PayPal's an easy double? I do not think, well, no. I do think PayPal's an easy double. I don't know if it happens as quickly as Meta. Remember, Meta went from 88 to 240 within a matter of 5 months. My thesis on PayPal, and I would like to know what everyone else thinks in the chat, is that essentially at the end of the day, PayPal is the hard part about PayPal is that there's not that big of a competitive moat outside of the fact that they have a lot of users. I know they're integrated on a lot of different websites, but a lot of websites are starting to integrate things like Klarna, Cash App. There's just so many different ways to pay for things. So I think PayPal is definitely undervalued. I think it'll be a great buy going into the bull market. I don't know if it'll come as quickly as a lot of people are thinking it's going to come. Broccoli Bob, I drink coffee for the taste. Don't drink it because I need it. Coffee doesn't taste good, so I don't know how that makes sense. I tried coffee before. I'm not a coffee guy. It's especially like raw black coffee. I don't know how you guys drink that stuff. That I drink black coffee. That's wild, bro. Just black coffee. I like, that's just insane to me. That's crazy. Drink a Monster drink daily. Okay, Monster a daily is also crazy. Even though I love how Monster tastes, but I don't want to have that much sugar. But Monster is wild. Okay. What do we have? Wejo sucks, bankrupt. Again, they're not going bankrupt. They're being delisted. maybe they would go bankrupt one day, but they're not officially going bankrupt. Dude, if I would be Carp, I would stress on Teal to close the deal with Tesla to use Palantir and to just pay the implementation cost, but talk about the benefits. That would be a huge blow. I think Palantir would love to work with Tesla. The problem is Tesla's so vertically integrated. Let's go to Tesla stock right now because they have one of the best supply chains on the planet. Like what Elon Musk has built in terms of the ability for Tesla to operate as a machine across the entire world, integrated within itself, from its supply chains to its end-to-end delivery logistics. It is just absolute phenomenal. It is that's why when people say, Ford or GM can compete with them at that scale, it's like, no, that's why Ford has to partner with them. Eventually GM will have to partner with them. They're just too good. Tesla's just too good. Elon Musk is currently in China right now, getting some things passed. And what I heard last night is that he wants to open a second gigafactory in Shanghai. I didn't know, bro, that 700,000 cars that were delivered happened in China last year. Like that's almost half of their output of cars was in China. So China's a very important market for Elon Musk. I mean, this guy, like, he cares about China. And I think China also cares about Elon, right? So they're giving him a little bit of flexibility in terms of some of the stuff he's able to do. In general, the CCP does not roll like that. But I mean, he was treated like a king in China. And he sells a crap ton of cars. So China's a very important market for him, as important as it is for the Chinese economy to be able to survive as well. Igor, what's up? Thank you for being here. Tesla has their own internal software that seems pretty built out. I'm sure Palantir would help, but they might not need it. Yeah, that's what I think as well. I used to be you, Amit. I hated coffee. Then I turned 30, and it's all I drink. I don't know, bro. It's not like I haven't had coffee or lattes and stuff. I just like black coffee, like cream and or a little bit of sugar. I don't know if I could like drink it like that. It's just a little bit more harder to do that. Okay, let's get into some mainstream analysis, see what the street is thinking, and then we're gonna go from there. Okay, so the Fed is making a classic policy mistake. Let's hear some analysis on this, and we'll analyze this as we go forward in the context of either hiking or pausing rates.
That's the question now. The Fed's rate hike guessing game kicked into high gear yesterday. First, it was Mester saying, oh, yeah, non-voting. But Mester saying, I see no reason not to raise. And then both Federal Reserve Governor Philip Jefferson and Philadelphia Fed President Patrick Harker both almost said the same thing, like they were sent to do it almost, suggesting the central bank may consider skipping a June rate hike. For more, let's bring in Joe Livornia, former NEC chief economist, and he is now SMBC.
Bro, are y'all seeing this guy? Okay, tell me, this is what we do on the show. We got to make fun of some of the CNBC guests. It's all in good love. Who the heck does this guy remind you of? Because I have someone in mind, but who does this guy remind you of with the glasses, the outfit? Just put in the comments. Who do you think?
Nico Securities America chief economist. Do you watch the show?
Which show?
This show.
Of course.
Is there any other
rhetorical question?
I was ranting yesterday with.
That's like me on the podcast for Finance Junkies. Someone was like, "Oh yeah, I've been watching for a couple months." I was like, "Okay, so what do you like about the show?" That's hilarious.
I usually don't rant.
Not like you.
Yeah, but I was ranting that. Okay, Mester says I don't see any reason to stop hiking. Did they see any reason to start hiking at zero? Could they see the future? No. Can they see the future? They always use rear view mirror. So if you don't know the effect yet of what you've already done, why would you make that statement? And I think these other two guys were watching me.
They probably
I have delusions. I have delusions of grandeur. And then they came out
Austin's
and said,
been watching you.
Yeah, Austin does. Where are we now? We were at 60.
Sure.
We went up
actually
from
close to 70.
70 that they were going to hike.
Came back. Well,
now where are we?
Well, Jay Powell came out a few weeks ago and talked about the mention pause. And then Chris Waller, who's basically his right-hand man from everything I understand,
Waller
came out and said, well, we might be hiking. So wait a minute, the left and right hands aren't connected here. And then you've had a lot of different commentary. Joe, the reality is once they pause, the market's then going to assume they want to ease, which is the right conclusion the market will draw.
It's the right conclusion.
I love
it's the right conclusion. Yeah, because
the
thing is,
we're going to stop.
It's kind of like, well, I don't want to get into a drinking analogy. It's too early in the morning, but that one final sip puts you over the edge. And I think that's kind of the tightening. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
You get the whirlies and throw up, or
well,
that's TMI. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is they've raised rates a lot. They've been very restrictive. The yield curve is so massively inverted. Leading indicators are down 13 months in a row. Inflation's lagging. They're making a classic policy mistake. I think it was Michael Burry who had said that the Fed not trying to make the mistake of the 1970s is making the mistake the Fed made of the 1930s. I mean, look what's happening with all these regional banks. And that's because you could put money in money market accounts. So if they raise rates again, that's only going to exacerbate the problem. For them to go in July, if they skip June, the hurdle for hikes has got to be really, really high, regardless of what they say. They're really going to start up again.
It's odd to me.
So again, what this guy's saying, and you got your comments are hilarious, y'all. I thought he looks like Richie Rich or something, like some character from like a Christmas movie in the 80s or 90s or something. So what he's saying here is like, do we really think if the Fed pauses in June, which again the Wall Street Journal reported is likely going to happen, are they going to start again in July? So the Fed signaled to these sources at the Wall Street Journal that they're going to pause, but the hike's going to happen a month later. This guy's argument is like, really? Do we really think that, like, for them to pause and for markets to assume, okay, quantitative easing is going to start, or at least get a little bit happy, have a little bit more momentum, and then inflation comes down nicely over the next 2 months, do we really think they're going to just be like, nope, we're starting again? Remember in 2018, or 2018, the Fed rose like, I think to 2.2, 2.3%, something like that. They raised a couple times. 2019, we expected 5 to 6 rate hikes. None of it happened. That was the year Uber, Lyft, et cetera, went public. So it's not historically inaccurate to say they're going to say one thing and then they just don't follow through on the other.
I can understand if the Fed goes, well, we don't want to trust the yield curve because whatever. But leading indicators are such a part of normal business. Like we're talking, why don't they talk more about that? Why don't they talk about how we have
to... Because there's too much groupthink. There's too much consensus. I mean, economists don't agree on anything. And look at the Supreme Court as an institution. It fights and debates all the time. Yeah. All of a sudden, you got 19 people that basically always agree, except for the one token dissenter. In the old days,
you mentioned Austin. We had Austin on, and some people said when he was on saying I agreed with the last hike, they said it looked like a hostage tape. They said he absolutely, who was it? Someone was on this. They said he absolutely, I think it was Paul Tudor Jones, said there's no doubt that Austin didn't want to go last time. Yeah, they all got to go for.
I don't know why we have to have consensus. Why can't we have debate? So that's part of it. But on the yield curve, Kelly, why is it the yield curve is not useful? Is not a useful gauge? It is when the curve right now is deeply inverted. How does that curve normalize? It only normalizes because the Fed cuts. 10-year note's not going to sell off here. Why would the 10-year note sell off here with inflation coming down and break even?
This is a good point. The 10-year does not sell off. Remember, these T-bonds, these places where you could put your money, that's a risk-free return instead of stocks, which is what we saw in 2022, which is why these bad boys got up almost to 4%. They only sell off if the market thinks that there's a better place they can get a return. And if stocks are a better place you get a return, then the market thinks rates are going to go down. Now, the market might be wrong about that, but that's the explanation for why these are going down right now.
Inflation expectations around 2%. The Fed would have to take the funds rate for 10-year yields to solve. The funds rate would have to go to like 7 or 8%. It's not going to happen.
So we're at the terminal rate already then. We're above the terminal rate.
Well, here's the thing, Joe. I would say is you look back at 2019, the Fed funds rate couldn't even get to 2%, and the Fed had a cut.
I didn't know he was going to talk about 2019, but this is a good example.
Economy to me is not as dynamic as it was in 2019. I'm sorry, I just don't believe it. So how the heck can we sustain 5% plus Fed funds?
And they themselves,
I think we're going to go under 2.
That research where they said the R-star is still, who was it? The official just the other economy still has the same sort of low natural rate that it did prior to the pandemic, which would make exactly the point you're making.
You've got look at productivity. You've got very little GDP growth. In the last 5 quarters, gross domestic product's grown 1%. The income numbers actually show a decline. You've got high employment. That only confirms you've got terrible productivity numbers. You've got an aging population. Real rates are probably, this is where I do agree with Larry Summers, real rates are probably 0, if not negative, the real natural rate. Mm-hmm.
So if they keep going then, and I do in some ways understand when they say, well, but payrolls are still positive and inflation's still, okay, I kind of get that. Those are the facts. What are the facts going to look like 6, 12 months out, do you think?
Whenever the recession happens, people will be surprised. And that may seem like it's obvious, but the same thing happened in 08. Because I remember in 08 thinking the economy was going to roll over. And in the second quarter, GDP was almost 2.5%, and we had the soft landing. And we were 6, 7 months into a recession. We didn't know it. So the surprise will be whenever that month the employment number turns out to be a lot weaker than expected and the unemployment rate gaps up 3 or 4 tenths, the bond market will price 75% of the Fed easing like immediately. And by the way, the average Fed easing is about 400 basis points.
That's interesting. So dude is saying when unemployment goes higher than expected, that's when we're going to actually have that catalyst that's going to create the momentum to potentially lead to a little bit more of a decline, which is what the Fed is looking for a massive rate hike, right? Like the Fed, I don't think Jerome Powell and Fed is happy that S&P is at 420 or 419 or whatever it is. I think if the S&P was at 3,400, 3,600, Jerome Powell would be fucking like, he'd be having a party every day, because he would be able to kind of make the analysis around the fact that that there's less money going into the economy. Inflation is naturally coming down. I don't think he likes that it's up the way it is. But the hard part is that the companies have put up the numbers. I mean, Amazon's doing like $120 billion a quarter or some ridiculous number, right? And their margins aren't even that horrible in different parts of the business. Same thing with Google, Microsoft, Facebook, even Netflix, Palantir, right? Companies put up the numbers. And if companies put up the numbers, again, if you're an investor, you're just looking for a return on your capital. Do you put it in treasury bonds? Or do you put it in a company that's growing and showing really, I mean, if you put it in Meta at $88 at the height of everything, you're up 3x versus 3% from a 10-year or a 2-year. And so the market's going to reward the companies that do well. And if the companies do well, it means that the economy is overall going okay. Because if people buy ads on Facebook, that's how Facebook makes money. Why do advertisers buy ads on Facebook? Because people are buying stuff from their consumers are spending. So that entire cycle has not deteriorated as the Fed thought that it would deteriorate. Thank you for 612 people being here. We have hit 600 on the live stream. Thank you all for being here. That is super, super awesome. We have officially hit 600 at 9:45 a.m. Thank you, everybody. This is super, super cool. All right, let's get back into the charts. CrowdStrike, that's a great one. Let's get into CrowdStrike. Let's talk a little bit about this. So CrowdStrike, for those that don't know, is a cybersecurity company. It's one of the fastest growing cybersecurity stocks, growing at about 45% in terms of revenues year over year. They beat expectations. Wall Street expected 51 cents on EPS. They beat it by, they did 57. Wall Street expected, what was the revenue number? Was it like, I got to pull it up. I thought I had it by memory, but they beat the revenue number. Crowd earnings. Let's put it up right there. The point is they beat everything and it fell badly. Okay. Wall Street expected 676. Just absolute phenomenal quarter. And then we look at the stock and it's down 6%, recovering a little bit. It was down a lot more last night, but it's down from 161 down all the way to 149. So the question is, why did we get this massive decline, right? Why did we see such a bad pullback? And from what I understand is that this stock was priced to perfection. They were priced for immaculate growth. They were priced for a company that could not show any errors. And when the market priced you in that well, by the way, the stock was up 56% year to date. This is also one of the concerns that might happen with Palantir. Palantir is up more than 100% year to date. If the next quarter is pricing in some expectations that, you know, are something we can't live up to because they're just too high, the stock's going to come down. And that's kind of natural because, like, you know, like the stock can't be constantly going up that high if the expectations are high, even if the stock outperforms those expectations. But CrowdStrike, phenomenal company, phenomenal stock in the cybersecurity space. It is just got murdered by the expectations being too high. That's why it's kind of good to underpromise and overdeliver a lot of times. But in the stock market, if you do that, then it's a little bit difficult to keep it going. Wanted to buy more under 145, was able to grab some at 140 at the after. That's awesome. Yeah, I think CrowdStrike is a great play. I don't know a lot about the cybersecurity world. I know it in relationship to Palantir and some of the geopolitical implications it has. But in terms of, like, I've never used CrowdStrike. I know some people who use CrowdStrike, and there's a couple of players that really do this at a phenomenal scale. And obviously CrowdStrike is up there. So a very fast growing company, probably a great buy the dip opportunity for those that really want to see this over the next 5 years, because it really didn't deserve to be punished in this environment the way some of the other companies did. SoFi at 674, still holding strong in the high sixes. The stock was 470, remember, just a couple weeks ago. By the way, the analyst that downgraded SoFi to 250, he did this about 2 weeks ago. He now upgraded his price target on SoFi to $3. So that's good to know. That's probably why the stock is up a little bit. We got from $2.50 to $3. So that's that'll be nice. Palantir at 14.29. We've got AIP in T-minus 3 hours. Very, very excited about it. And again, I'll be live streaming it, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about. And the reason I'm more excited about this than FoundryCon, because if AIP is the future, and all of us are thinking AI is a macro level future-driven event, especially for rallies and momentum within the stock, I'm really interested to see how they are planning to tell the market about their offering and showcase that the product. C3 AI down at 21.87%. Obviously, market was not happy with guidance. Now, what was interesting to me is that C3 AI is down at 21%. And then you got this guy. You got this guy that says this on Twitter, which makes me think he might be holding a bag. Okay. It made me think he might be holding a bag. Enovix punching back a little. That's awesome. I still don't have any shares of Enovix yet. Have not established a position yet. This guy says, so Dan Ives, our boy, upgrading C3 to outperform from neutral and raising our price target to 50 from 24. While it might be a bumpy road, we believe C3 has turned a corner and is ready to now capitalize on the $800 billion AI transformational opportunity over the next decade, front and center. Now, the only reason I think Dan Ives has some, credibility here is because of the market valuation of C3. They've got $800 million in cash, and they're probably now like a $3 billion company, right? So you could theoretically argue that it can move up higher. It doesn't have to be the stock that is stuck at some of the low levels. The problem is, I listened to the earnings call yesterday, and nothing I heard was interesting or exciting in terms of the differentiated moat that this company has as they're attacking the AI market. So I don't think the company is like bad or anything. I just don't think they're that unique in terms of their approach. And there's a lot of competitors out there that have some differentiated approaches. Could it go to $50 just on pure valuation, given 800 million in cash and 3 billion market cap? Yeah, but I do think Dan Ives might be holding a couple of bags potentially for upgrading it to $50 because I don't know if it's justified to be at $50. I made 50% of my C3 put. People laughed. I'm taking that and we'll buy a Palantir call for the week. I think Palantir will smash this and show they're about the business and not just some whack ass theory. Yeah, the puts and the IV on C3 yesterday morning were just so, there was such a big premium to buy a put, even though obviously the puts made sense. But it was hard to buy those because they were expensive. But that makes sense, Adam. ZS reporting tonight. Oh, ZS is also Zscaler is a competitor to CrowdStrike as well, so they'll be explaining some of their thoughts, and we'll get a little bit more understanding of that. CrowdStrike has L5 security. Oh, I think I saw this on Twitter yesterday. That's amazing. Yeah, CrowdStrike. I mean, they're the real deal. There's not that many players. They're a household name, at least in the stock market FinTwit community. I mean, I've heard of CrowdStrike, even though I don't know them that well, because their name is just out there in terms of what's going on. We think Palantir will hold 14 today. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like the turtleneck. Thank you, Aurelia. I appreciate you liking the turtleneck. What do you guys think? Do we think Palantir holds 14? Do we think Palantir holds $14? Right now, C3 down 21%. NVIDIA up a little bit. Palantir at 14.39. It's doing its thing. It's holding up for now. Now, another piece of news we got yesterday is Mark Zuckerberg is announcing something at 10 a.m. So I have to leave at 10, so I'll cover this tomorrow. We'll talk about a little bit on the AIP con, just a little bit. But Mark Zuckerberg hinted that he's showing off something today, and I think the thing he's showing off is he's trying to front run Apple's WWDC announcement. Mark Zuckerberg might show the Meta Quest 3 today. This is what he shared on Instagram. Meta Quest 3. Now, why is he doing this right now? Okay, because Apple WWDC. Look, if Apple releases a headset that is beautiful, that is sleek, that is consumer friendly, that is marketed to perfection, that people love, they're going to wipe Zuckerberg and his metaverse off the planet. I really believe that, because if Apple can truly make wearing some clunky thing on your head and make it cool to the point where people are actually buying this shit for $3,000, which I'm not doing. I don't know, but I am not doing that. You know how many Palantir shares that? I'm not doing that. But if they make it off, if they do that and they market and they get the developers and they make the ecosystem, this whole Meta transition to the name is going to be in a bad situation. Because again, the reason it's called Meta is not because of advertising, it's because of the metaverse. And I think Mark Zuckerberg realizes that. So he's trying to front run the WWDC announcement by showing off the Meta Quest 3. Now, the problem is, I don't even know if people care about the Quest or the Meta Quest. Like if Zucks has had a 10-year head start, you would imagine Zucks could have scaled this to like billions of people by now. Facebook's not a hardware company. They're a software company. And so I think Facebook can win in this game, but I think if Apple comes out with something beautiful, now in general, I'm kind of bearish on VR writ large. I don't think it's like the next computing platform. So I think it's gonna be hard for Apple to even do this. But if they do this, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a really fun race to see kind of how it goes down and if Apple can take over this market. Mark loves to copy his announcement, so it is that is also true. Does anyone even use a MetaQuest? Well, some people do, but I don't. I personally don't use it that much. What time is it there, Amit? Today it is 9:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for me, and 12:30 we are going to be doing the Palantir Aipcon. Amit, did you see a Hong Kong whale sold over $5 billion of Apple shares? Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that, but I believe it because the COO of Apple and Tim Cook, they were selling off $70 million worth of shares because and insiders haven't sold for 2 years. And the reason they're selling now is because the valuation is getting up there. And so either it was Tim Cook or the CFO, but there were insiders that were getting rid of their shares. And it makes sense why they were getting rid of their shares because I think at $3 trillion. Look, I mean, if you're investing in Apple, like it's a simple question to me. Apple's $3 trillion. Do you want a 3x from here? Forget a 10x, 5x. Do you want a 3x? Okay, Apple has to become a $9 trillion company. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. And I don't think the market's even ready over the next couple of years to give Apple a $9 trillion valuation. Maybe by 2032, people are like, oh, $1 trillion in 2030 is not the same as $1 trillion. Bro, it's only 7 years away. $1 trillion is still going to be $1 trillion. I know it's going to be 2030, but $1 trillion is a lot, even as inflation happens over the next 7-8 years. So having said that, if you invest in a $30 billion company right now and you want a 3x, it has to go to $90 billion. Which to me is a lot more reasonable, especially if the company is growing. And so I think it's just a different world in terms of what we see. Amid Big Apple Bear. I'm not even Apple. I use Apple products. I love Apple products. I think the stock right now, it's tough to justify buying it right now. I remember watching the streams with around 100 people. Well done, Amit. Yes, thank you, 619 people being here. Quarantine Quartet. I know you're an OG. Thank you for being here as well. For those that don't know, Quarantine Quartet, he has a wife and 2 kids, and they play guitars and they post videos on the internet, and it's just the coolest content ever. Whenever they come across my Instagram, I just have to watch. The fact they play guitars, it's just insane. Their kids are 10 years old and they play them like professional. It's just amazing. So I would definitely check out their channel if you guys are interested in some music content. I bought another 500 today of Palantir, set a limit at 14.25 and accepted, holding well relative to the market, break even around 16. Hopefully insiders don't sell too much. That's the other thing. We haven't gotten a massive insider sale from Palantir. I know some the CFO sold at 11, sold I think 500,000 shares or something. But as it has run up to 14, we have not seen a bunch of people cash out, which I'm skeptical that we might see them because Palantir shareholders have or insiders have tended to do that on some of the run-ups. But if it's the real deal and AIP is the thing and it just keeps running and shareholders hold their shares, they should theoretically believe that this thing has a lot more momentum and they don't want to sell it too early. Or if they only sell a little bit of their shares, right? But keep the majority of the stake. Remember, Alex Karp has not sold outside of options for the past 2 years. Other insiders might have sold for here and there. I know Sham Sanker sells 50,000 here and there, maybe to get some liquidity to buy a house or whatever he needs. But Alex Karp and Peter Thiel have not sold for liquidity. And Karp currently owns about 63 million Class B shares, which is about 3-4% of the company. Peter Thiel also owns about 4-5% of the company. So they own a lot. They own a lot. All right, that's it for me, everybody. I got to get out of here. Got a meeting at 10, and then at 12:30, we are going to be here. Get some popcorn. Get whatever you need. I know a lot of you may be working throughout the day, so put in your headphones. AIP conference is going to be interesting. I'll be analyzing as I'm speaking. So we're not just going to be listening to it. We're going to be listening to some of my analysis wherever I can give any bits of information that I think is valuable as we're watching the conference. This will mark a new beginning for Palantir because if they can show that this product is real, that this product actually helps clients, and that these clients are, fundamentally transformed because they're using AI to integrate into all of their business processes, and Palantir is the backbone of that, then I think the market's going to reward them for that. I think the market's at least going to understand why the prices run up a little bit, and that more customers are going to be coming in, and this might potentially be a gold rush for Palantir and their software. So it's going to be very, very exciting and interesting. Thank you all for being here. I will see you at 12:30, and have a great day. See you in a couple hours. Bye, everybody.